share my screen. All right, so let's go to the top here. Let me refresh this. All right, so Jordan, I thought I commented on this one. I'm not sure if I saw this one or not.
Yeah, they were both there. I think
They were both
commented on
there.
one. Pretty much the same deal. Like it's just the rough.
Yeah, you got the idea there. I think there's a strange little jump between the first drawing and the last drawing right there, right here.
Yeah, yeah.
See my mouse? But it's working. And I criticized you here just because it looked very much like mine. And then I made a note down there, something about that, you know, that's fine. You learn by tracing, you learn by copying. And you probably all know that you can bring a QuickTime movie into Toon Boom and it comes in as frames. You just import a QuickTime movie and it comes in as frames. And so it's a real easy way to cheat, but don't cheat. You know, as long as you got this in your hand now, find a way to make it your own.
Yeah, it was just
all right, Isaiah.
The Zoom recording.
I appreciate you doing it the other way. All right, so that's working pretty good. You know, I'm allowing for that little jump right there. Okay, so yeah, that's working pretty good right there. I think you only need to slow it down by half, which is kind of what today is about. That looks good. And then remember the idea with these little steamy guys is to make it really slow. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, so that's working too. That's good. Excellent. And the idea would be is just to make it slow. And we'll show you how to do that today. All right, so let's do this right now. As long as we've got, oops, this grid paper here. So what I thought I would do is just take a little demo for you and give you an idea of the best way to do this. I think you've got it good. I think everything is working fairly well here. Let's look at your volcano here. So I'm just going to take a 4x7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's okay. We're just going to make it go over here. All right. So I think the first thing that you really want to do, if you can't see it, if you can't envision it, then go in there with like one of your colored pencils and put your horizon in there. That always helps. And remember, all of you, I'm going to switch colors just for a second here. That in the side view, if your camera is on a tripod, this is normally about a 3-foot camera, or 3.5 feet off the ground. And so when this camera is set, it's going to see the horizon just like we saw. It's going to have the horizon about right here. If the camera is pointed down, it's still on the same tripod. Then what happens is that the horizon moves up and completely out of camera. If the camera is, oops, sorry. If it's pointed up even a little bit, right? Then the horizon is completely underneath. So this is your standard shot. You can use all these cameras. I mean, they're great, but if you have the horizon here or here, those are very particular shots, right? And so when you start your grid here, you just have your perspective grid here, but you're only going to see the grid that's on the ground in this one. And you're only going to see the grid that's on, you'll see both the grid that's on the ground here But in this one, you'll see the grid that's up in the air. I kind of reversed this. I should have put the green on the bottom. That's all right. And then you're only going to see the grid that's up in the air in this shot here. So this is our ideal camera. All right, so that's always a good place to go. It's like there's nothing funky. We're just going to start here. You've always got to consider your focal points and then your cinematic thirds. You've got a focal point in the middle. So this is an issue here. I think that you do want to give yourself room to really explore this idea of the smoke coming out of the volcano here is why we're doing this. So what I would do if I were you, and I'm not because that would be really painful, is drop this down a little bit so that you have your volcano here. And I see that there might be another volcano over there. And so drop it down, just make it a little bit easier on your hands. So this is always a good idea, is to set your perspective grid. Even in a little thumbnail like this, is to, you've got a 1 point, 1 point perspective here. And each one of these should be a square. And even if you're doing these little thumbnails, take the few minutes to just kind of sketch it in there. And then go, okay, so you've got all this. You want your smoke to be here. Kind of give it, the node thing that we were talking about and we've been talking about. That looks pretty good. And then over here, this one is going to be the wispy one. And the easiest way to remind yourself that it's wispy is just to draw one curve and then draw another curve on top of it. And even right there, it just all automatically has a nice aesthetic to it. You can add little bits. And then you decide, does this look too much like cigarette smoke, right? All right, and then in this shot here, some other things to consider are going to be, you've got a whole plane right here. So this might be cool to put like a river going out towards the ocean over there and make the river really wide so that you can have a chance to play with a splash. And so here you're just going to do like a little water splash. So just indicate that like this. I mean, it's just a sketch. So some asteroid is going to fall in and crash, right? And if there is a room for it, then over here you can do like a little bog. Oops, I picked the wrong color. Over here, there's a little bog. And then here you can have the chance to play with the mud bubbles that we're going to do. In this shot right here, because volcanoes are so electric that you have a chance to do lightning here. So just remind yourself that you can do lightning. Not so much on this one, but just on this one, this closer mountain right here. And again, I'm drawing with my pencil. I think these guys are always best to draw with your pencil. So there's your first volcano. All right, and you've got some other things here. You've got the corners that there's nothing in there. And you can do a couple of things just in terms of layout. And you could just look at it in terms of say, maybe there's a tree that's right here. And draw in just like a little thing right here to remind yourself you want a tree right there. And then like right here, there's a place for you to play with fire. So you're gonna color this in with a tree, and you can do the same thing over here where you're kind of hiding in the forest. And so you just kind of do that. This is okay, this corner is covered, but here's a great place to do fire. And so just remind yourself, maybe there's a fallen tree or something, or a series of trees. And then just remind yourself that this might be a really good place to do your fire. The fire that we're going to do, there's a whole bunch of different kinds of fires. Is the a campfire. You know, you could do torches and candles, and there's all kinds of fires. But here, this one's going to be kind of more like a campfire. You know, and really, it might need smoke too. And so, very cleverly, if you're taking this smoke from the volcano and you're going to copy and paste it after it's done on top of the campfire, it might be really cool to just copy and paste it so that you only see part of it. Like this. And we'll talk about this more specifically when we get to fire, because in Toon Boom, when you copy and paste this, just remember, when you copy and paste in Toon Boom, they become what's called, no, I can't remember the name. It just disappeared right out of my head. They're like rubber stamps of each other. This becomes a copy of this. Anything you do to the first smoke will happen to the second one. But if you copy just the objects on the stage, then you can manipulate it. So, and we'll talk about this when we get to the fire, because then you can manipulate it. You can use the transformation tool. There's all kinds of things. So this is already starting to look pretty good. In the background here, you can put little clouds that are that could be moving. And I'll show you how to move these elements. So these clouds right here are just singularly drawn elements. And I'll show you how to move those. We'll do that later. And so what I'm doing is I'm just kind of helping you get the idea of what your composition should look like. And so in this tiny little sketch right here, which is looking pretty good, we've got smoke, we've got fire. Sorry, Zoom won't let me draw fire, lightning, water, mud, light. I did lightning. All right, so there's 5 elements right there, and that's really good. So I think that what you want to do is you want to do a whole bunch of these. Do the volcano left and right. What does it look like from different points of view? What does it look like if it's in 2-point perspective? I think this tornado is pretty good. And you can just kind of copy the tornadoes that we were talking about. Oh, I can't draw. Actually, let me do one thing here. All right, I just took a screenshot of that, and that'll be on the recording. All right, I'm gonna clear this. So hopefully that makes sense. You know, let me do this too, just before I do the other thing here. The same thing kind of applies to your chemistry lab. And so go in and start your perspective. Put the horizon about a third. Put your marks for your focal points, because I think your perspective is off right here just a little bit. And so give yourself, you know, just start with 1-point perspective. And then if you want this countertop here, then draw your grid. Oops, hold on. Am I still sharing my screen?
Yes.
Okay, that was weird. Okay. So draw your grid. And there are some people who can draw in perspective without the grid, and they're weird people. They're just so good at what they do, you like want to follow them around. So draw your grid, even though you're in a room, draw this grid. Then start placing your stuff in there. So you've got your vanishing point, and then draw the countertop here. And then you can always kind of fudge the framing if you need, so that all this stuff ends up being in perspective. So you draw this little beaker right here. You draw this little guy here.
I think your screen share might be frozen.
Oh. All right, how's that?
Yeah, I can see it now.
All right, so here you're going to draw this little Bunsen burner over here. Underneath it, there might be fire. Right, you're going to do like a simple little fire here. This one you might have, oh, this one you got the little steamy smoke. That's good, right? But you can see that already you've got a better composition, even in this little sketch, just because of the way you've got the perspective built in there. In this one, you might want an orb to come in, right? And we'll talk about this orb in a couple weeks. So that's your orb, and you can make a note, orb. In this one, it's very common, and it's fine for you all to think about a window, and the orb can come in through the window. So right here, I'm just going to kind of draw the room. It's going to break the glass. So, and again, you can certainly do this. So just give yourself a little note right there that it's going to break the glass. Here, you've got another counter, but it's kind of squished over towards the side. And so maybe give yourself another counter that's in line with this one. And you could, this one's kind of, you could just have stuff sitting there. You don't need a whole bunch of effects on this one. All right, and so what happens here is if you start sketching this, and you kind of run out of colors here. But if you make the window even just a little bit bigger, then you get a chance to really play with how this glass is broken. You get a chance to really look at how this orb, maybe it's a little smaller, breaks the glass and sits here. If the window is a little bigger, then you can do rain outside the window. So make yourself a note. You got rain outside the window. If it's raining, then we can do lightning outside the window. And it's really easy. You can just, oh, what did I do? I lost my pencil. You've got the orb. You've got steam, fire. This one here can have smoke, right? And then there's going to be an explosion in this one. And that is the whole centerpiece of the orb, is that it explodes. And so this is a nice way to think about your final. Oh, I navigated away from the drawing. That's what happened. No, that's weird. Okay, so you get this idea, right? You got that idea?
Yes.
All right. And usually I do these puppies in pencil. Okay, good. All right, I'm going to clear this. And remember, that's on record. I can also put these two little sketch. Can you see when I do that?
Yes, I can see that.
You can see it flying up.
Mm-hmm.
All right, hold on 1 second. Oh, okay, there it is. All right, so, oops. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put those two little screen grabs in the chat. And you're all here. We have 100% attendance, so grab those. I can also put them in the class if you want, but let's go ahead and grab those. And, oh, how did I put a tab away? That's weird. Okay, let's go back to our smoke. Am I still sharing my screen?
And no,
I think Zoom is thinking by itself. How about now?
yes, yeah, that's right.
Okay, so that helps you improve this, right?
Yes,
The sketches. All right, so do we look at these?
yes.
Yeah, we looked at those. Okay, so those are working good. And I think the in-between thing for today will be a good thing to do. All right, Janeska. Yeah, that's not quite working yet. Remember that what you've got to do here is you've got to think about these as orbs. And in this better version here, remember that we've got one track going that way, and then we've got another one on the bottom that's just like in the middle of it. And so, and then you connect them.
Oh,
So then you say, okay, so my original first frame looks something like this. And remember, you don't want to make it look like dog poop. You want to make it more organic. You want to make sure that it has the essence of smoke and that it's expanding. And then this guy moves to here. And this is the same frame. This is all frame one. And he moves to here. So I don't see your frame moving right there. You see it? This guy's stuck right here. This guy right here. He's stuck. You know, this guy's wiggling around a little bit here, but this guy of yours is stuck. And so if you need to, just animate this circle going one, this is one, that's frame one. So in animation, we talk about the timing of things. You're going to go from position one to position one. And in this one, you need 8. We started with 8. So you just go 8 different positions there. You can put a half. And so I'm going to change colors. So your half position going from this to this is here. And on that same drawing, this is going from there to there. So it's going to go to here. And so that's your half position. And remember, we did this like with little icons last week, right? And then, so this is a quarter. And so you can do those as little dots. You can change colors. And then you can do the eighths like this. And then you can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And this becomes 8 drawings. Does that make sense, Janeska?
yeah.
All right, and then
Makes
remember that I'm not doing this randomly, that in a typical walk cycle, and this is where I was, my head just exploded last week. When animators do a typical walk cycle, they're going to have a set keyframe that has the contact position. I'm just doing a quick little sketch right there. This is drawing 1. And when animators do drawings, a walk cycle, they do contact, down, passing, up, contact, down, passing, and up, and then return for like the little bean that's on the top of the character's head. And the way we plan this out is that you say contact, down, passing, and up. And then this contact position right here is the same as this one. And so with just a couple of drawings, that this is basically the same drawings, but the legs and arms are reversed. And in a walk cycle, the contact is drawing 1, the down position is drawing 5. The passing position is drawing 9. And this is always just a good place to start when you're studying walk cycles. And then the up position is drawing 13. And then the repeat of the contact position is drawing 17. I'll put a little square around it. And so when we do charts for a walk cycle, we go 1, and then we go 5, 9, and 13. And 17 is a copy of 1. And so you don't need to do any more than 4 drawings to get a walk cycle working properly, because you do it on 4s. And so when we do this chart here, we go from drawing 1 to drawing 5, and 3 is always an in-between. It's just a straight in-between. And that's what an animator's chart looks like. This animator's chart can also look like this. The animator can draw 1, and I've seen them just do like a little Z to 5, and they'll put a little line across it. That's the same thing. And they don't even need to draw the number 3. They just know this and this are the same thing. And if you wanted to talk about a bouncing ball, you could say on position 1, the ball is going to come in and it's going to go up and it's going to slow down. Its positions are going to slow down as the ball gets towards the top of the arc, just by natural physics, right? And so if you saw what I did there, this is my key position. This is the up key position. And this was somewhere around half. And then I did half again, and then half again. And I favored it this way because I knew that I wanted a cluster of drawings over here, because then it would go doop, 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 and it'll slow in to this position. And then on the way down, it's going to slow out of that position by gaining momentum by saying, okay, here's the half position. Again, I favored this backwards a little bit so that I can do half and quarters and eighths and 16ths, so that this is slowing in and this is slowing out. And the way that you translate this into your chart is you say, let's say that this is drawing 17 at the top. So you just drawing 1, and this is 17. Half would be drawing 5, and it's a breakdown, so breakdowns always get an underline. And then you could just do 3 here. And then this could be a secondary breakdown between drawing 5 and 9. So you do like a secondary breakdown, and then 7 is here. This is 17, so that you go half, 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 11, 13, and 15. And this mimics what this is. So when I'm doing a chart for you for here, this position going into this position, it's moving at a regular rate. So its chart is going to be very simple. This one's working, by the way. This is good over here. This is working. You just need to fix this one. So this chart here would just be really simple. It would just be going 1, going into 1, a half position, a quarter position, and an eighth position. And those are all equally spaced. Drawings 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And you got 8 drawings in the cycle.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Oh, you're welcome. Jinhee.
Yeah.
Okay, I think it's working pretty well. I'm going to stop the playback. I'm going to go to frame 1. I think that this is working pretty good here, but I think you lose the ability to see what, oops, stop. What your shapes are actually doing in terms of animation. In other words, I see this shape here, and I'm going to look to see if that shape has moved along the arc up to this position here. And then I see this shape, and I'm dying to see that shape is going to go up to here, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so just the same thing that we did last week, and the same thing I just did for Janeska. I want to see those two things moving from this layout. If I don't see those two things moving, it's, my eye is going to be sad, right? So this one is the same as this one. So I want to see this moving into this position and finally up into this position. And then this position moving into here. And then remember that this distance, it looks like it's speeding up a little bit here. So there's probably a blue one hiding down here, right?
Mhm.
And there's a blue one up here somewhere. And it's really big and it's off the screen. You might not need to see this one, but you may need to draw this one so that you can get these positions, right?
Yeah.
So that you know that you're not going to lose track of it. And once you've seen that, and you can take a screenshot of that if you want. Once you see that, let me know.
Oh, I got it.
You got it? Okay. So I'm going to clear that. Once you see that, you're looking for that vertical motion. You're looking for those little three-dimensional puffs of smoke going upwards. I think that you've got upwards motion, but you kind of lose that shape a little bit. It becomes more conical.
Yeah.
It becomes more like a cone. I think that you can tweak this a little bit. I see lots of little outside curves, and I would like you playing with more variety of shapes. I think you're there, and I think you can just tweak this one a little bit with those notes.
Okay.
All right, this one, my intuition is that you all understood that last one, that last demo that took 5 minutes last week. Yeah, this one's working pretty good. You know, on top of this, what would make this really kind of awesome is that remember that what we're dealing with here is this kind of steam almost. And it certainly could be that there is water in the volcano itself. Remember that you've got to put this in context so that if I see a screen like this, a 16:9 screen, my eye is going to be centered on a focal point that's right about here and here and here and here. And we do the sketches. So these sketches look okay up here, Janeska. But I think that you want to use a little bit more perspective in there, just like we had talked about with Isaiah's. But I think that this one, I think that you might want to try to put your volcano here and give it more structure so that we know it's a volcano. You know,
I don't think that's mine.
oh, sorry.
That's mine.
No, I'm talking about this sketch up here.
Oh.
Oh, no, you're right. You're right. This is Jenny. Sorry. And the other thing about that little sketch that we were doing, right? I forgot lava. And we're going to talk about lava. Lava is basically the smoke, the waves of the smoke going down. So the smoke is going up, right? Yes? Just everyone nod. And then fire is going to be the same thing. It's going up. Well, lava is the same thing going down. And that's why we started with that flag, because the flag is going sideways. So it's all the same theory. So here you'll have a really good chance to play with what this lava looks like as a cycle. Again, we'll just start with 8 frames. We'll take it up to 16 if we need to. If you want the lava to move really slow, you can do it for 32 drawings. But you know, this is gonna be becoming daunting. In the game world, when you do sprite sheets, 16 is a good number. Right? All right, so I would suggest, and you can copy and paste this smoke here. Somebody remind me to do that when we finish this part of the critique, because in Toon Boom is like one of the only applications where you can scale all the drawings in a layer all at the same time. Isaiah, it's up to you. You have to remind. All right, so on top of this, this is Janesca's?
Jinhee.
Oh, this is Jinhee, okay. On top of this, I think it might be really fun to now do another pass on top of it. Because those two together indicate that there's like two things that are steaming. Can you imagine that? And so this one here, again, it might be really fun to just kind of give it a third little bit, just to give it a little bit of eye candy. You know, so that would be my suggestion.
Okay.
All right, again, I think that just these need a little bit perspective in there.
Okay.
So keep doing them. You should have fun doing these little drawings. Let's do a whole bunch of them. All right, John.
All right.
Okay, I think this is working pretty well. I think you've got the first version of the smoke. That this was my first version where the plumes of smoke were just going on the curving track, as opposed to this shape here moving into this shape. I think what you could do is you can use this for like some background smoke or something. But remember that the one we did last week is better, because as this shape moves into this shape, I don't see this, right? Instead, this shape is moving down here. And so
Yeah.
your smoke is just like pumping through a tube. And what you've got is okay, but you could use this for background smoke. And,
Okay.
and do a version of the smoke that I demoed for you last week.
This one didn't really work.
No, it's working fine. I think you need to finish it.
Yeah, it's
So-
pretty rough. It's pretty rough.
No, that's
actually.
okay. I think that it's working. You just gotta see this middle shape right here where my mouse is.
Yeah.
It's moving up and then it stops right there. You gotta just get it off the screen. And now I'm really mad because I spent all my time on this smoke right here, and then I did this demo in 10 minutes and you all got it really well. I think this is working pretty good. Again, I think you could put a secondary and a tertiary set of lines in there just to make it a little bit more transparent. But I think you just have to finish it. It's working, you just have to finish it.
Okay.
And do your sketches. Just like we've been talking about for your volcano, for your tornado, and for your final, at least those three. And the final should have the orb in it. All right, Luisa. This is animating correctly, but I'm going to take aesthetic issue with you about this. Luisa, are you still with me?
Oh, yes, I'm here.
You know, I think it's animating correctly. Hopefully you didn't spend more than a couple hours on it. There seems to be a little bit of wiggling around going on right here. Remember, you want things to move discreetly. That when I finish my demo today, you're going to see that we're going to slow the smoke down so that it really looks ominous. But I think that you did yourself an aesthetic disfavor by just having your direction of your plume going like that. I think that you might have wanted to give the air more of an undulation.
Mhm.
So that it's really more ominous. You know, even as I'm doing this right here, and we'll see what the other one looks like. It might be really cool to animate this as one steam and this as the lower steam. Is everyone understanding? Isaiah, are you picking up on this? And do you remember what I asked you to remind me about? Because I already forgot.
That was about like scaling layers in Toon Boom.
Oh yeah, okay, thanks. So I do understand this one, Louisa?
Yes.
And then do another one that's just completely different. Right? And this is another way to do it. There's tons of different ways. And then do another one that's completely different. So you do 1, 2, 3, you do 4 of them. And you do them all on separate layers so that you don't get distracted by any of the other ones. Turn the first purple off and then do the second purple and then do the blue and the orange. And having these kind of smokes layered on top of each other might be just really cool. Because I think your smoke is working, but I disagree with you about having it go straight up in a column. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Mr. Billy. So try this. Take a screenshot of this and try this.
Okay.
Four different wispy smokes on top of each other. And then really, if it's a volcano, you know, you can do that thing where you go, oh, I'm going to also add the little puffer smokes or whatever you want to call them. You know, you can add those on the outside of each one, and those are really easy. Okay, got it.
Okay.
And let's see, because everyone seemed to totally capture this one. So I think this is working okay. Sure, there's a waft of wind that comes in there, and it's working. I would not use this same technique for the volcano because air is not going to do that much changing of direction at a mile away. So this is fine for a cigarette smoke or incense like you have it. But try the suggestion that I just gave you, and you got to do your sketches.
Oh, okay.
Got to do your sketches. You got to do your sketches, or I'm going to find out where you live, and I'm going to dress like you and follow you around.
Oh my gosh.
God, that's so scary, Billy. No. All right, Madison.
Thank
Okay, this is working all right. Madison, do you have 8 or 16 drawings in here?
I think it's 8. I can
I
check.
think it's 8. I think you've got a little outside curves. It's not terrible, but I think what'll help is if you start adding highlights and shadows. Yeah, I think this is working okay.
Alright.
Yeah, I think that's working okay. Yeah, this one's not working.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think my
Go
brain
back and
just
look at
shut
the-
off.
Go back and look at the demo
Yeah.
last week. I mean, I like what you've got right there. It's kind of strange and wonderful at the same time. You know, because you just kind of accidentally hit on this. I like this. I think that you should probably investigate artistically what it would look like if you did your whole cycle with this kind of look. You know what I mean? Because you start out like this, which is really different. This is the way I did my demo. But you take this and you give yourself all these little curves in there, and so you animate the curves into it, but it's not moving correctly. It's not moving from left to right correctly, but I do like this strange, interesting little shape you've got there. See if you can get that to animate correctly.
Alright.
All right, so these are starting, but your volcano should really be down lower
Okay.
so that you can see the smoke going up. And I disagree with you aesthetically about having all three of these canted to the left. I think it's just a little unnatural, a little inorganic, if you will.
Yeah, I didn't.
Again, I think if you wanted to start the volcano in the middle, then bring it down. If you know the smoke is going to go to the left, then have the caldera point that way. And then build your smoke. Remember, it should have some sort of organic quality to it. And I think that if these guys are going to bubble like this, that what you want to play with is more of a pool, and that this caldera is actually more level.
Okay.
And really kind of thinking, do I have enough space to play with the mud bubbles right here? And if you're going to do this right here, I don't know if you need this one. Or if you're going to play with the idea that there's a lake right here, then this becomes a good place to put your splash. And then this is a good place for your lightning, clouds back here, trees up here. And then you might want to reconfigure your framing so that it fits better, so that you can get more of this water splash. And we'll talk about the tornado next week. For all of you, look at the tornadoes on the Pinterest board closely, because there's lots of good stuff in there. All right, let me refresh this. There we go. All right, looks like you, oh no, okay, that's where we were. All right, so let's, okay. Let's take a short break. I need a drink of water. Only like 4 minutes, just to get a drink of water or a sip of coffee or something. And I'll give you a longer break in about 40 minutes or so. Take a short break. Take 4 or 5 minutes. All right, I'm going to show you all a good way to do cleanup. All right, and I'm not going to spend a whole bunch of time on here. Oh, I'm going to first I'm going to show you how to do in-betweens. And I know that the Zoom recording or the Zoom sometimes chugs things a little bit. But for this one, I have 8 drawings here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. As we left last week, this drawing right here and this drawing right here were not done. Remember on our chart, that amounted to this drawing right here and this drawing right here. And it was just really easy for me to go in and do those technical in-betweens. However, you have to kind of pay attention. This is my first key, and I'm going to just use my F and G keys to go forwards in time. And so what I'm looking for is, I'm just going to follow this puff of smoke right here. And I'm going to center my eye on the very center of it so that I'm hoping that it matches the positions on this arc as it moves forward. So I'm just hitting the G key, and I can see green, pink, green, gray, green, darker pink, green, and the key. Good. I know I did that one right. Keep going. Now I'm hitting the G key again. Green, it's close. Pink, it's close. Green, gray, green, darker pink, green, gray. Okay, I got it. I did it right. So that one's right. Just by that, I'll do it again. I'm going to follow this puff of smoke. Gray, it's the key. Green, pink, green, gray, pink, darker pink, purple, green, gray, green, pink, green, gray, green, pink, green, and gray. It's fine. So now I'm going to follow this one, right? And this one, I didn't put the arc on the same place, but I just put it underneath it. So I'm just going to follow this puff of smoke to make sure it's working. So that was kind of weird, right? This one's not working correctly. It's kind of, it falls apart right there. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make a little mark right here to say it should be right there. And then it's right here. And then it's here, here, oh, and then it jumps over here. So this one's got a big jump. This shape right here goes from here all the way up to here. So I'm going to make like a little question mark here because this is my rough. And then it goes to here, to there, to there. So that slows down a little bit and then it behaves itself. So I'm going to look at this at speed now, and I'm going to look for this question mark, and I'm going to go backwards again to first key, and this, so I'm looking for this shape right here that I drew, and this question mark right here, because if these guys pop, then I know that's where I have to fix it. So I'm going to just go to the key, and I'm looking at it again. So I don't think it's terrible. I'm going to look at it at speed. Smoke can do this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to leave those little marks right there because everything else is working fairly well. And I noticed this last week when I finished it. I don't think that I sent you a version of this. I don't think I did because I knew I was going to do it today. All right, so what I'm going to do right now is let's get this thing out to, right now we've got 63 frames. It should be 64. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven. Yeah, for some reason this one didn't get to the full 8. So we got all these drawings here on 8. So it's 64 frames cycle right now. And I want to put these guys on 2s. So it's working, once again, it's working, but I think it's moving too fast. Got the little puffs of smoke, they're moving too fine, but it's moving too fast. I don't mind it being on 8s. It's a little start and stoppy, but I want to do in-betweens on these guys right here. And again, so this is going to be 128. So we're going to stop our playback, and we're going to take the header out to 128. That's F5. They're at 128. So I know my limit. I know where I need to be. So right here, I'm going to take my cursor, I'm going to put it, and you can do all these all at once if you want. It might make more sense to do it as you go. But on frame 5, I'm going to just hit the empty drawing. And now I'm going to take these guys. I'm going to take the first one and take it. I'm just going to leave it right there. I'm going to do all the timing later because I know I have to do 8 drawings here. This one right here, I'm going to turn my onion skin on, and I have it limited to a drawing before and a drawing one frame before. So that's the green. And let's just get, it's 2 frames before and 1 frame after. I think that's fine. All right, let me remember, I'm using this gray, and so I'm an eyedropper the gray, and it's telling me that that was the 3 color. Oh, good, look, it matches 3. So that's, so I know that I'm using the right color. All right, so again, the keyboard shortcut for the pencil is Alt / no, Alt. I always forget. Yeah, I'm just gonna go, I just go to it. Oh, it is /. All right, so once again, I think that what I'm gonna do is this is my rough. So, sorry. I'm going to look at this arc right here. You can do it on the center point if you want, but when you're doing in-betweens, it makes sense to look at this arc right here. So I'm gonna go from, I'm gonna put my pencil down here. I'm gonna put my pencil down here. I'm gonna go right in between it. And I'm just gonna draw this arc right here. And remember, we started here last week, but I'm just doing this one a little differently. This is going from here to there. So that is my arc, just like that. And I see that there's red going into green. So red going into green. And then I see this little arc here, red going into green. This has to stay in the same place. So if we wanted, we can do this little line here all at once by copying and pasting it at the very end. Remember, you do have a little variability right here at the very end, which is fine. But now the trick is to make sure, now I can see that little green mark coming up right there. So that means that this red thing didn't move correctly. So I have to fix that. Let's do this one first. The red going into green, red going up, and bring that arc up. It has to go past this point. It's incorrect if you flatten. You don't want to cross this point right here at all. You want to go up and over. So you see this shape, there's a big jump right there, right? So that's a big jump. Even though we're doing an in-between right now, that's still a big jump. We might have to do this again. It depends on how, so this shape right here is going into this shape. That's just an in-between. These little 3 shapes are going into one down here. And it goes from here to there. Halfway is about right here. This shape right here is going into this one. All right, and then you keep going. Red going into green, red going into green. So this shape right here is moving into this one. Like that. All right, let's go backwards. Red going into green. I'm gonna adjust that a little bit. Red going into this green. These guys are going over here. And then there's connecting lines. Remember to put a little shape, and a medium, and a little one again. All right, now let's go backwards. Red going into green. This little internal shape here, you can get that right now. Right? All right, so red going into green. And now we have to repair this little bit. Red going into green. So, oops. So I'm going to take this arc and move it to the right. So that's the red arc of this puff moving to the right. I'm just going to connect it. I have a feeling it's going to be just fine. It's organic. It can move that way. That's fine. All right. So the bottom of this circle is moving into the green right here. So I'm just going to do like a little loop like that. I'm going to bring this smaller piece up, connect it down here. And again, I'm drawing these things a little stiff, a little dark, so just so I can see them. In the next little bit here, I'll do a demonstration of a really good way to just get this cleaned up. And I know, I'm gonna guess that you can all imagine what this is like doing this for the rest of it. So this shape is going into this one. So I'm looking at this shape. I'm gonna draw and then erase. So this puff of smoke right here, erase, is going into this one. And that's moving kind of slow because this is the distance I'm looking at right now. And so what I'm gonna do is take this red one and just kind of move it like this. And I'm gonna hope it works. Now, this point right here looks like it might die. So I'm gonna put like a little loop and then another one to connect it. And then we're gonna go through. So these lines right here are dying. This red line is my first keyframe. The green is the third keyframe. And they're right on top of each other and they're not moving. So this is gonna become an issue right here. I can just tell by looking at it. Let's take this little outside shape first. And I'm gonna say red is moving into green. If I move that right here, it's gonna move slowly. And let's just see how it works. So I'm gonna put this one like this. I'm gonna go backwards. And then I'm gonna fudge this a little bit. The red is gonna go like this. And then this one is just gonna go like that. So I just added a little bit of motion right there where there was no motion in the original key. So the red is gonna move to the right. The red is gonna move to the right. It always has to move. All right, and so this red shape here is gonna move. I'm gonna copy that little mini shape right there. And then I'm gonna finish this. The red is gonna move to the right. And it's gonna move to the right. All right, and then remember that you can copy and paste the paint to line all when you do this one too. All right, so I'm gonna use the F key to go backwards. I'm gonna turn my onion skin off just because I wanna make sure that I did that in between right. So now I'm just gonna see if it looks okay. I'm gonna use G, G, G. I'm on the first frame right now. Forwards, 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 forwards. Okay, I think it's working okay. Now I'm gonna do one more. I'm gonna do one more here. So I'm gonna put my cursor here. And I'm gonna hit empty drawing. And I'm going to turn my onion skin back on. All right, red going into green. So I'm gonna do one more here. And then remember that you'd have to do this 8 times to get this on 4s. And then we would take it back out to 8s again. All right. So again, I'm starting in the same place today. This arc has got to go out here. The top of the tangential outside of the curve has to go out here. It's over here. This little red line is going over to here. All right, let's go backwards now. This red is moving forwards. There's a little outside curve. This red is coming up. Remember, you can switch. You can go to an inside curve here because it's organic thing. It can do that. All right, this red shape is going into the green. I can see it right here. All right, and then connect those lines back up. All right, so the red's going into the green. And so this red shape is moving over to here. And that it's quite a bit of jump right there, but that's okay. We're gonna go for it. So this shape right here is and then this line right here moves over to here. So now we're doing this one. So let's start here. It's gotta go up above that tangent. This is going to here. And again, that's tricky, is to get this little red shape moving into the green shape. Connect this. Oh, look, this is all ready to go. The red's going into the green. This slows down a little bit, but that's okay. Red's going into the green, a little shape. All right, continue up. We'll just jump over here again. Red's going into the green. All right, okay. So now we'll do this one. So this red is going into this green shape. And as I'm doing this, I'm thinking, oh boy, you know, I've got things moving at different speeds, but that's okay. Remember the original test looked okay. So here's our problem. Here's our first problem. This little red shape right here was moving into the green. So it's kind of diminishing itself. And so let's work backwards from this shape that we've got. Red's going into green. So red going into green, and then a little medium shape, and then a smaller one. Let's get the bottom one working. This shape right here is moving into this position. Remember that you don't want you want your lines to cross over. You don't want them to hang and die and not move. All right, so this is weird. The red shape right here, let's do this, the bigger green thing. The red is moving into the green. So this one's actually getting smaller. So let's just pen that line in right there. And then this under shape is gonna just be like that. It's gonna change. And let's get the red going into the green. Okay, so red going into the green right there. So I saw this shape going into this one, the red going into the green, a little mini one. This shape is going into this shape. This shape is going into this one. And then this shape right here is moving to this position. This is moving to this position, and we're off the screen. All right, so let's turn our onion skin off. Hopefully that made sense. And if it didn't, you can go back and kind of scrub through the recording. But let's just take, so look at our keys. I have the onion skin off, forwards, 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 forwards. I think it's working fine. But so now I'd have to go and do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more. Right? And I don't think I want to torture you by spending more time on this one because I want to do an explosion today. All right, so I'm going to follow up on Isaiah's request to reposition all drawings. Do I want to do that right now? That would be fine. I'm gonna show you how to reposition all drawings, and then I'm gonna Command Z out of it. Okay. All right. I'm going to, on my keyboard, I'm going to hit Shift M, which, oops, this has to be activated. Shift M, which takes me back to full camera. They're going to come out of this a little bit. And it might be fun to just play this right now. Remember, we're going to get, I'm going to limit this to frame 64 because those aren't done yet. Let's just see what it looks like in the smaller version. Because sometimes looking at it from a different angle or different point of view, your eye catches things. All right, so I think we're on the right track right there. And I think that once we get those other in-betweens done and then put those on 8s, I think it'll be fine. It'll be done. All right. So in order to reposition all drawings, you shift select your entire entire level here, and then you take your cursor and you hold your left mouse down on reposition all drawings. Once you do this, you're going to see a red selection box, which is basically showing you everything that is on the frame that your playhead is on. So right now we're on frame 1, but if you hit that button and you see the little arrow with the little extra frames underneath it, it's actually selected everything on this layer. And you could just take this and wait for the mouse to turn into a grab and then move it over here. Now, what you've done is you've just moved everything on that layer. Every single thing on this layer. And you can scale it down. You can say, oh, I'm going to take the shift key. I'm going to make this really small. I'm going to put it over here. And now I'm going to play it. I turn my loop on. I'm going to play it. So everything on that layer has been moved. So if you can imagine, everybody, all you have to do is get the smoke working, and you can copy and paste it onto a new layer. And then instead of just scaling it, you can flip it. You can do anything you want. So I'm gonna Z out of this. So I just killed my reposition, right? But let's do it again. So with this, I'm gonna stop the playback. I'm gonna select everything again. And I still got reposition all drawings on, but I just want to make sure here. I'm gonna hit Command. Oh, hold on a second. '64. Okay. So I always just take this extra step here to select all the drawings on the frame we're working on, and then reposition all drawings. So again, this is the pivot point. This is grab. This is rotate. Remember, your mouse does all kinds. So I can skew this. I can say, oh, well, maybe I want to make it all those drawings really small or really squished or something. What does it look like now? In this way, in Toon Boom, you can take one bit of smoke that's moving correctly, and you can copy and paste it in different layers and reposition all those drawings to do all kinds of different things. The thing that I was looking for before was that once you do this, they become symbols. So I'm going to Z out of this. And so remember that this has to work first. And there's also another little trick which I can show you with fire, is that you can, even though these are the same drawings, when you copy and paste them and they become symbols, you can start and stop them in different places. So that when the fire is going, your eye will not pick up on the idea that it's the same cycle. We're going to start the cycle halfway through, and I'll show you how to do that when we do fire. All right, does this make sense to everybody? Does anybody have any questions about this? It's a great, stop it. It's a great, wonderful tool. All right, so now what I want to do is just give you a hint on cleaning up. So on this layer right here, I'm going to give myself a new drawing layer. It's just going to be 3_C for clean. I'm going to add and close. I'm going to make sure it's in the right place. So once this is done and working correctly, I mean, these kinds are kind of fugly right here. So let's just talk about a couple of things here. First of all, what do we want to use? We want to use a 3C color. So make yourself a new color, position it on top of 3, double click on the blue because we're in the swatch mode, go to wheel mode, rename this 3_C, and give yourself a color that's going to be a little different. So right now we're going to make this a true gray. And remember that a true gray, the RGB values are all the same. So there's something funky about this 7 hanging out here. And so I'm going to shift it, and there's something still weird happening with either my mouse or my stylus. So I'm all the way at the edge of this gray value here. These numbers should be the same. If these RGB values are all the same, you know you have gray. Just remember that for the rest of your lives. If these RGB values are all 255, then it should be pure white. I don't know why this is doing this. So I'm going to force this to be white. So 255 3 times is white. If they're all 0, then you've got black. Right? And then the same thing. If you go to the red and 255 is red and 0, 0, you know you have red. In green, if you're shoved to 255 on G, you've got green. If you're 255 in blue, then you've got blue. There, now you've just learned how the matrix works. And all of a sudden, Neo makes perfect sense. If you see these numbers as gray, let's get back to gray. Now it's working. If they're all the same, you've got gray. All right, that's your midterm. You all just passed your midterm. All right, so we're gonna just leave it at 127 just for now. And we're going to use a brush this time. Now remember, let's do a demonstration here with just the pencil on the arc layer, because that's just our goof around layer here. And we're going to draw a pencil line. I'm going to push really hard on the pencil line. I'm going to hit the K key on the keyboard, and the K key on the keyboard reveals all the strokes. That reveals all the math. Because remember that Toon Boom is a vector application. And so right here, I've just got 2 points. When I drew these or drew anything, oops, it's thinking of the math. And in the math, it's like start at point A, go to point B, and all the things in between it. It might have a thickness to it, and there might be some math behind it, but when you use a brush, oops, I got the wrong brush loaded, hold on. We're gonna pick, that was the brush from our pixie dust. So we're gonna use the solid brush 2. It looks like it says 5, but the 2 to me means it's 2 pixels wide. No, it's 10 pixels wide. It might be a little fat. Let's pick brush 1, which is 5 pixels wide. Okay, so now we're gonna hit K again, and it turns it off and back on again. Now I'm gonna hit the direct select arrow, and we're just gonna cut through, oh, hold on. Toon Boom is not behaving. All right, so you see the difference? Now you've got lines on the inside and on the outside. If I zoom in on this, you can go in and manipulate all of these separately. So using a brush tool is really ideal when you're cleaning up. Pencil is great when you're sketching and animating and drawing and everything. But when we do this little cleanup pass here, we're going to use the brush. All right, so we're at 3S, we got Ks all over the place. So hit the K key again, make it go away. Remember that Option and Command is rotate. We're going to use this exclusively here because when we're cleaning up, we always want, if I'm right-handed, I want this. Oops, why is this not behaving? We want this to be our cleanup. That kind of line right there. It's easier to draw this kind of line when you're right-handed. If you're left-handed, is anyone left-handed? Then you would draw the other way. All right, so let us go to frame 1. All right, let me just double check this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just kind of think about what I want to do. Do I want to go straight from the very bottom here and go all the way up? Or do I think that's fine. I think that's exactly what I want to do. And remember, you have to determine. And if you freak out, if you panic and you, Billy, what's wrong with this? Render a QuickTime movie and send it to my Yahoo address, and I can take a look at it. I have a little bit of time this weekend. Monday is Indigenous Peoples Days. I might have a chance to really look at it. All right, so right now what I'm looking at is that this gray, this darker gray for our 3 layer, it's a little too vibrant. So let us put a node on 3. Let's put a transparency node on 3. All right, let's go back to our timeline. It is 3, so I'm looking for 3. So right here is 3. So I'm going to take the transparency and put it under the 3. I'm going to move this up And I'm gonna, something funky is happening right here. So I'm gonna hit Command A and I'm gonna hit separate by 25 pixels and say, okay, so you don't want to grab the wrong thing there. Remember that the space bar works in the node view too. All right, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take 3, I'm gonna move it up. Oop, hold on, deselect, move it up, hands, transparency. Again, PC people might find that it works perfectly just by shaking it right here. In our media arts and animation world, there's a compositing application called Shake. And Shake is because it's got this same kind of node set up. And if you just grab like this thing right here and you shake it, it removes the link. That's why it's called Shake. So right here, I'm just going to do this manually and put it into the correct position. And again, I just want to make sure that I put this in a good place that's visual. I could even move this up so that this is really clean down here. So 3 now has a transparency node on it. 3C is the one we're working on right now, right? Everyone okay? No one's freaking out? Isaiah, you're freaking out? You can freak out if you want. Let's go back to our color. Let's go back to the timeline. 3 now has a transparency node on it. Let's open it up. So, and remember that once you do that, it's default at 50% transparent, which looks okay. Let's bump this up a little bit. Let's take it up to 60. Let's take it up to 70. I'm going to be using a gray. So this 3 color, I actually want to might change the color a little bit. It might make more sense to make it a little more yellow. So, and we can change that on the fly whenever we want. So now that I'm cleaning, I know actually I want to make that a little bit more vibrant. So I'm cleaning and I'm watching what's happening on the stage. All right, I think that'll work right there. I'm going to close this. I'm going to open up the transparency on the arc a little bit, and I'm going to give the transparency on the arc. I'm going to bump it up to like 90. All right, something else is happening. I have, oh, my layout. All right, so I'm going to leave that alone, and I'm going to put a transparency. I'm going to just double check by turning it off and on, because we want this layout there for grins and giggles just for a moment. But I am going to put a layout. I'm going to put a node on the layout. All right, I'm going to put it right here. Transparency, node, render, move it up, move this over. Remember, my instructor always yelled at me when I did this because he wanted to use this automated. The more you have here, the more you have to be careful, just because you don't want to accidentally move things around there. It'll break it. All right, let's go back to our timeline. This looks better already. Now I'm going to tweak the yellow. It looks a little too mustardy. What I'm looking for is a color that's vibrant and that I can see it. And I know that I'm going to put my gray line over the top of it. I think that one's okay right there. All right, so now let's go back to our cleanup mode. So in the C layer, 3C layer, with the brush, with this solid brush, with the 3 color, I'm going to double check this because this should be 3C. I thought I called it C. All right, so, and again, it's just really important to stay organized right there. All right, so let's do like a test. So I don't know what I'm doing here. Why did I do this? 3C. Oh, I think that Isaiah, what did I do here? It's hard talking and drawing at the same time. I think this 3S was supposed to be. All right, let me fix this. 3 is my rough layer. 3 is my rough layer. 3 is the animation that is working. So I'm going to rename this 3 underscore. Come on, Toon Boom, stop it. Underscore R for rough. And I'm going to rename the color, which is the color we were just working on, as 3R for rough. Let's say okay, make sure it kept it. So this gray is now, we're going to shift this to, because it looked like to me that yeah, that's what I was doing. I changed the color of our rough. So this is going to be our cleanup color. So this should be C3C. This should be 3C. All right, now let's make sure that's in the right. So this is 3C. All right, now brush. Okay, good. All right, that's what we want. Let's double check the K. Direct select tool just to check that we're using it correctly. Okay, hit the K again, hit Command Z to get rid of it. And now we're just going to look at this as a cleanup. How do I want to do this? I don't have all these keyframes locked here. Sometimes if I know that this is absolutely working, a lot of times what I'll do is I'll take either my brush or my pencil, and I'll set all these frames in place by just making a mark somewhere. Again, Shift C, Shift M. I'll make a mark like out here that just establishes all these keyframes, and that there's something in there, so that all I have to do is hit the F and G key to go forwards and backwards. I'm just going to do the demo here. I'm going to zoom in on it, hitting the 2 key. And again, that would allow me to put this paint 2 line in and copy and paste it, and this paint 2 line here as well. All right, so and you can kind of figure what I'm going to do here. On this, I'm going to rotate my screen just a little bit, and I'm going to just put my first line right here, and I'm pushing pretty hard. That looks pretty good. So now I'm going to move it, I'm going to rotate it, and I'm just going to keep going. I don't like that. I don't like that little thing. My hand is not warmed up, technically warmed up yet. All right, so this becomes a little tricky thing here. You definitely want to make sure that you can get this all in one line. All right, so that looks okay. I'm just going to take a look at my tool properties. I'm going to Z out of this. I'm going to take a look at my tool property here. And I'm just going to say the maximum size of the fixing is set at 5. And so I'm just going to come over here and I'm going to say, I'm going to draw an organic line. It's a pretty organic line. But if I take the maximum size up here to 10 or 12 or 14, that's not what I want. What I want is I want the vector fixing. So so what I did is I clicked on this arrow right here. This is a solid vector, maximum size. I want this to be 5. The minimum size, 5% roundness, sensitivity, angle. All right, let's take this minimum size up here just a little bit and see if what I'm looking for is, I want to see if Toon Boom will help me clean up and vectorize that line a little bit. So let's go to the smoothing tab and put the smoothing to about 5. So I'm gonna draw a really crappy line and it's not fixing it yet. So let's put contour smoothing up a little bit. No, that's okay. You can see it working, right? Let's do this one. Let's clean it. Let's just push it all the way to see what happens. Right? That's not so bad. Now, one thing that happens here, I'm drawing like a really ugly line. Right? So let's put center smoothing up a little bit. And there, now you can see that it takes a really crappy line and just fixes it. So let's push this center line smoothing up so we can see what's actually happening. See the vector change? So you can draw like a really strange line and it's going to fix it for you. So you can play with these settings to get to your desired, hold on. Setting, because you want to be able to go fast. Now that you've got these lines set in your rough, you want to be able to just kind of fly through this. You're not thinking about anything, you're just doing it. All right, so just double check everything because Toon Boom sometimes has a mind of its own. All right, everything looks good. Again, those tool properties were hiding under this little arrow right there. All right, so and that fixed it. That's good. I like that. Okay, that's fine. Rotate. Let's do all of these. And then when you're thinking medium, small, bigger, and that's a good cleanup. I like that. That's fine. Rotate a little bit. Let's do these guys. Small, medium, and a bigger medium. There we go. That's looking good. All right, everyone get this idea? I don't think I have to do more of a demo here than this. What I am going to say is that I am starting each one of these at the point. So I don't want to, I don't want them to cross over each other too much. Now this one's going to be somewhat of a challenge because this is a really big one. So let's try to do it fast. Yeah, it looks okay. Let's try again. Right now, what I can see, what I can feel is that my hand is kind of stuttering across my Wacom tablet. And that's why I want this smoothing. And I want to make sure that this connection point doesn't look ugly. Right there, that looks okay. If I hit the K key, I have to hit this and touch it. Toon Boom. This is the K key. So those points aren't bad. You know, it cleaned up my pencil line pretty well right there. That's looking pretty good. And so my thing I was going to say is that you don't want this to be full points because then your file size is going to be just huge. It'll just be way too big. And you can see that just at size that this looks pretty good. And then, so once again, your process is that you do your rough on 8s, you get it working, you fix it if you need to, don't spend a lot of time on it. And then if you have to redo it, then redo it and follow it correctly. All right, and then you go in and do empty drawings. You do empty drawings between each key and you get those working. Don't confuse yourself. You saw that I was manipulating the transparency on my arc layer, on my rough layer, so that I can actually see what I'm doing. And then once you've got it locked in, pick a color that is just completely obnoxious. This 3 rough color here is just a poopy yellow green. And I know that I want to turn the 3R layer off at some point. And then pick a good gray. use the brush tool with a good settings and test your settings. They're going to be close to mine. Toon Boom is pretty specific. Make sure that you're looking at a variety of shapes here: small, bigger than small, small, medium, bigger, medium, big, medium, then larger shapes. You want to think about it aesthetically and artistically. And then once you get to this cleanup step here, you can just put your music on and not really think about it and just go. You just clean the whole thing up, right? All right, I'm gonna pause just for a second. Does anyone have any questions about this? All right, let's take our main break right now. When we come back, I'm going to show you how to do explosions. So take a 15-minute break right now. Go get yourself some breakfast. That was quick, guys, there. All right, so this is just a reminder that the very first way I showed you how to do smoke, that this was one of those ways. That this is a combination. If you can watch the outside shapes, you can see that there's a strange little hookup between the last frame and the first frame, and I would still need to go back in there and fix it. But the outside curves of the smoke are tracking, and then you can see that I just did another track of arcs that make up the shadow, and then another couple of little moons here that make up the highlight. I think I might have explained this a couple weeks ago, where I was intending these to be holes in the smoke, these little circles right here. And I ended up filling them in purple because I just didn't like the way they were working as holes. And you can see that I've also put a transparency node on it. I put a blur node on it. And it's moving okay. It's just one way to do it. These clouds in the back here are jumping between the first frame and the last frame because I didn't position them perfectly, or have enough of them so that there was a seamless loop. Again, I will show you how to do that in a couple weeks or so. This has lightning here. It does not have the flash of white, which I'll show you here in a minute. The flash of white or the flash of black. It does have the water splashes in it, which is kind of strange because the scale of the lines here on the water splash are more 10 feet from you. They're more right in front of you. They're more like something that you would see in a swimming pool or even in your own backyard or something like that. And so remember that in this composition, we are quite literally at least a mile away from this volcano. And so these water splashes are very cartoony because they're at the wrong scale. I think I can get over it. I just want to make sure that you know how to do those water splashes exactly. In this example, there are projectiles coming out of this volcano back here. Those are just easy. We'll talk about those when we get to the volcano composition. But this one has the fire. And you can see that this is the main loop. And then copying, and I made sure it was working. I copy and pasted all those drawings onto a new layer, which became symbols. And then I repositioned them. I transpositioned all those drawings so that it's the same fire. Actually, this one right here is two of the same loop right next to each other and squashed and stretched. And again, I think that they should probably have a little bit of smoke coming off of those themselves. So this is just what a regular composition would look like for the volcano. All right, so continuing, this is your first exposure to an explosion. And I couldn't find it could be that actually lost it. It could be that it's actually gone. My computer had to be rebuilt in April, and I thought I saved almost everything. And I might have. If you look at my directory, you can see that I've got repeated drawings, repeated files after repeated files all over the place. And I could search for it, but I forgot what I called it. Sorry. All right, so what I've got is a bomb, and I kind of like this one because it's set up. It looks like this. The bomb is just sitting there, and then it explodes, and it's not quite done yet. So it's good for me. It'll be good for you because I can explain to you a couple of different ways to make it better, and I can also explain to you what is actually happening here. Let me do that first. First of all, you can see here that it's 119 frames. And there's this blast mark on the ground. It's fine. It's great. It's working. And that background is right here. So this background is right here. But there's a layer here that I called an underlay. And in the world of animation, there is an order of the way you position drawings in the exposure sheet. And they look like this. I might have explained this to you. Oops, I don't want that there. It looks like this. So in this one, I'm just going to use the black. And I'm going to start with this. Did I already explain this to you that Bugs Bunny was always on top? No, I didn't explain that to you. Okay. So Bugs Bunny was always on the top. And Bugs Bunny was always on the top layer because he was Dove Gray 20. And in the 60s and 70s, if you had a whole bunch of layers, this Dove Gray 20 was very light. In the 60s and 70s, they were still using some form of nitrate, which is why we call it cell animation. And it's called cell because this was nitrocellulose. So I wrote that backwards. And nitrocellulose comes from the actual composition of this cell because the nitrate was actually made from gun cotton and nitroglycerin. And so this, and not only was this kind of fragile and expensive, but it wasn't flammable, it was explosive. And so go in and do a little research for yourself on a genre called nitrate films, because these films would be put in their little film canisters and they would be put on the wall in the film archive. And if those things sat there for a long time, the nitroglycerin would leach out and pool in the bottom of these metal canisters. And if you shook this, it would explode. Nitroglycerin explodes. So there's a whole bunch of films called nitrate films. And even here in San Francisco, there's a bunch of film archives and they're all over Los Angeles. They're everywhere. And there's a standing note that if this is a nitrate film, they put like a little sticker on it to make sure. Once the nitrate has leached out of the film, it becomes extremely brittle and you basically can't look at it anymore. You'd have to preserve this very carefully in order to get a copy of that film, of that negative or positive print. These are called nitrate films. Because nitrate was kind of orangish, you know, it wasn't like this color here, this EX2 color, but it was kind of light amber color, that every time you had a layer, it took an extra third of an f-stop. So each one of these layers was an f-stop. So this was F1 and this was 2. So if Bugs was like on any of these layers down here, he would change colors because Dove Gray 20 is very light. And as soon as you start putting even one layer on top of it, he will change colors if you're going from shot to shot to shot to shot, you'll pop. And so bugs was always on top. The way the hierarchy works here is that you have your background. That's the thing that's always on the very bottom. On the top, you have your top layer. And that can be anything you want. It could just be bugs. We'll just call it bugs. In the order of things, just like a sandwich, you have an underlay. That's the thing that's underlaying everything. On the very top, you have an overlay that's overlaying everything. And some studios, like Warner Brothers Studios, would circumvent that rule and put bugs on top. But any other studio, the OL would be on the very top. In the very middle, you have an OL, UL. You have an overlay, underlay. And then the correct order is that you have your A layer, your B layer, your C layer, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Maybe you had a D layer. And you couldn't have any more than 6 layers, really. And this overlay, underlay could be here, it could be here, it could be anywhere you needed it to be. And in a regular composition, like our volcano, the background would be the horizon and or just the color card in the background. And then the underlay would be like the ground plane and the volcano itself. And then the A layer would be the smoke. And then the B layer or the A layer could be the clouds in the background moving. Then the B layer could be the smoke. And then the C layer could be the lightning. The D layer would be the water splashing. And then this OL would be all the stuff that is overlaying it. Like you might have those little trees in the front or because you're hiding in a cave. And so now you have like the rim of the cave. And so that's the OL, that overrides everything. And in the world of animation, these A, B, C, D layers would correspond to whatever the character was. So this would be Daffy, right? Or this would be Yosemite Sam, or this would be Foghorn Leghorn. And then everything on this layer would be F15 for Foghorn. Or if it was Granny, it would be G17. If it was Mickey Mouse, it would be M1. If it was Donald Duck, it would be D4. Whatever you needed, it's B. Does this make sense to everybody? All right, so that's the hierarchy. And so some studios still use this, but now this is blown out of the water because you could have as many layers as you want. And you could have folders with tons of layers in it. And folder after folder after folder, as long as the application doesn't crash on you. So what's happening here is that I have a background, then I have an underlay replacing the background as soon as the explosion happens. So in here, I went and used my pencil tool, and I just used my shift key when I was drawing a straight line. And let me explain, the pencil tool is here. If I have a line and I'm drawing a straight line, and I hold the shift key, it's a straight line. You should know that. You should just know that. And in Toon Boom, Photoshop, you can draw any way you want. In this rough animator application that some of you might be using, you have to just do it on a completely horizontal line because it doesn't have that vector control. So that means it's strange. In this world, you would rotate the stage. But in the rough animator on the Mac, you can't do it. You have to try to draw a straight line. So this looks nice and clean because I just used the shift key. And I made sure that it looked like a blast mark. I made sure that it looked like the bomb was, or that the hole was right where the bomb was, right? And the bomb is just sitting there. So it's just doing nothing right for a whole bunch of frames. And then all of a sudden here on this frame, I've called flash. Now I have not used the proper color naming convention. I should have called this white, right? And I don't know if I used the white, but I did. And then here I used a black, and I don't know if I used the black, I did. Okay, great. So that's the way this works. If you look at this there is a white frame and a black frame, and then a bunch of other frames where the flash starts to happen. And then a white frame and a black frame again, just one frame. And then the smoke starts. And this is a different kind of smoke. This is the accelerant. This is the explosion type of smoke. So let's go over that today. Let's look at this one more time. And we're going to add a bunch of things to this. So that's the way the explosion works. Right here, you've got the flash happening, and I have the explosion on one layer. And you can see here that I've got EX1 through EX8. So there's a bunch of different colors in there. With just the G key, you can see that I've got a 5-point star. And that 5-point star gets a little bigger. And then it gets a little bigger. And then I got straight lines here, which I can now go and paint white. And then they get really big and go off the stage, and then white. I'm sorry, hold on. And then white and black. And then we're continuing with the explosion has already gone off the screen. And then now the smoke happens. In this particular frame, we see the new underlay appear. And again, I did all this so that you could understand what underlay means. Underlay does not mean underlay. It's underlay. Okay. So this smoke now is what we want to talk about here for this explosion, because this is just a little different. Remember, I'm trying to make everything kind of relate to it, because in my notes, we could also do lightning today too, if we have just enough time. All right, so let's talk about this. This bomb should have a fuse on it. And so the explosion is happening here. This bomb is holding. This is my layout, which I just did this on, right? So I can just turn it off if I need to, it doesn't matter. But what I want to do is I want to say, I want to put a fuse on this bomb. I don't know why my bomb is pink. You know, that's ridiculous. I don't know why you would have a pink bomb. So let's change the, I'm not sure why I called it OB2U. I don't know what that means. So we're just going to make it a darker purple. All right. All right, so I want to put a fuse on this. And here's a really easy way to do the fuse. So I'm going to give myself a new drawing layer. I'm going to call this fuse. Fuse. Look, I went to school. I know how to spell the word fuse. All right, so the fuse should really be starting when the shot is opening up. Remember that a lot of times I give you 8 or 12 frames of nothing, just so that your eye can register. But in this case, I think the fuse should be just moving right along. I want a couple different layers though, because I want this fuse to be by itself. So this is going to be like the fuse base. So I'm going to double click on this and call it fuse underscore base. And what I mean by that is we're just going to use this yellow color here. And we might change this. I'm going to zoom in on this a little bit. And I'm just going to put like a little base right here. All right, let's try this again. All right, something like that. I want this to hold all the way up until the time of the explosion. Okay, so I'm going to go to the frame before it and hit F5. That just holds it. All right, so that's the fuse base. Then I want the actual fuse itself. Sorry. And that is right on top of it. Okay, so now that this fuse, I'm going to use this color here. And I'm just going to draw the fuse. All right. And I'm going to put like the little lines in it that describe it as being a chord, a little piece of string that's been dipped in saltpeter and all the stuff that, all the good stuff that makes for the creation of a fuse. I'm going to take this, it's on its own layer, so I'm just going to pick the main select tool. I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to go out, we're just going to do this on 2s. So here I'm going to hit paste, and remember when you do that, it fills in the frame before it. And then I'm going to bring my erasing tool up, and I'm just going to erase a little bit of it, just a little bit. And we're going to go use the greater than sign and go 2 frames out, paste, and then erase a little bit more. I'm going to bring my onion skin on so I can see how much before. So I just want a little bit of red right there. Greater than sign, 2 frames out, paste, erase a little bit more. Turn your onion skin on just so I can see a little bit of red. Perfect. 2 frames out, paste, erase so you can see just a little bit of red. Get rid of that. 2 frames out, paste. You want to see just a little bit of red, get rid of this. 2 frames out. Okay, that's fine. 2 frames out, paste. Two frames out, paste. 2 frames out, paste. 2 frames out, paste. And I'm watching what's happening in my timeline. Oops. 2 frames out. Hold on a second. Let me make sure I got this right. That's right. 2 frames out. Paste. I'm watching what's happening down here. I'm going to lose my bomb here in a minute. 2 frames out. Paste. Oops. Now we got this happening. Paste. All right. So now what we're going to do is we're going to have the fuse actually have a sparks coming off of it. And so we want those sparks to be on another layer. We also want a little pause. And so what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to remember that this explosion layer is lined up with the flash layer with this 2 frames right here. We're going to need about another 18 to 24 frames for all this fuse and the sparks to happen. And so I'm just going to take this and put my cursor here, and I'm going to hit the plus sign 20 times. I'm going to take this frame right here, and I'm just going to move it out to where it lines up right there. So then I'm going to take my layout, my underlay, I'm going to put it to the frame before it, and I'm going to move it until right there. I mean, this is fine right there because it's going to line up with the white. We're not going to see it. All right, so we should be good right there. So we can test it if we want to make sure that it's working. Okay, good. So now I'm going to take the fuse base and take the fuse base all the way out here to F5. All right, and then I'm going to come back here, 2 frames out, paste. We're still in the erasing tool, erase. And that was important. This is important here about layer management and timing management, because I don't really care how long this is going to take. What I want is good timing in here. 2 frames out, paste, erase, 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 get rid of this. 2 frames out, paste, erase, erase, erase. Okay, we're going to kill that one just a little bit more. 2 frames out, paste, and I want just one little bit more. All right, now it goes away. On this one, we can just hold this one for 1 extra frame. This one doesn't matter. This is our layout. We can turn it off. What I want right here is a little wisp of smoke. So let's do that first because we already did that last week. So right here, I'm just going to do drawing and I'm going to do wisp. I'm going to add and close. I'm going to add a new color that just says wisp. Wisp. I'm going to give it a gray color. We can always change it later. And let's, on this frame right here for wisp, actually we want a little bit of a delay. We want the fuse to go into the center of the bomb. So I want a few frames right here. And if we wanted to on this layout layer, now we can just use this and say F5. And then on the layout layer right here, take with your wisp color and draw the idea of just the little wispy smoke happening. We only need a few frames of this. We only need a few frames. So that is our layout. And what we're going to do is instead of this thing animating forever, like cycling, we're just going to go, it's going to dissipate. It's going to disappear. In order for that to happen, we might need a few extra frames down here. I know I want this last fuse, it's gone. I want at least an 8-frame delay right here. So I'm going to actually think about this for a second and go, imagine what this is. Boom. And during that little pause right there, I want the smoke to come out and dissipate. And so that to me was about a second or so. And so there's not enough frames right here. So once again, I'm going to take my cursor, I'm going to put it right here, and I'm just going to give myself an extra 24 frames. All right, so I gave myself an extra 24 frames. Remember, put your cursor on the empty frame and just hold the plus key down until that lines up right there. And again, you want to do the right thing and make sure that you placed it correctly. And that looks correct. Okay, so now on this layer right here, that's our fuse, right? And so if you wanted to put the sparks on the fuse layer, that would be fine. But let's do the right thing and actually just do the sparks on its own layer. Sparks. Let's give ourselves a sparks color. Sparks can be red. They can be bright red. Watch your numbers, right? You know, we could start. We could just start with that. They can be orange, even. You can make them a little orange. You know, something like that. And again, you can always just change that later. All right. So the sparks are here. This is the fuse base, right? You know, remind yourself that's just the fuse base. So it's going to last all the way up until the explosion, F5. All right, so now right here, the fuse has just stopped and we want a pause, right? And so if we want to use this fuse layer for the smoke, you'd have to put in a blank frame right here. But let's just put the sparks because of this on the same timing, but on another layer up on top here. All right, so very quickly, we're gonna our onion skin on for just a couple of frames. And I think it's probably best to use the pencil tool with a 5/5 setting with a regular line. And remember what you're doing. The fuse just kind of sends out these like sparks. And we're going to go all the way back to our pixie dust. And we're just going to draw in our first frame here. And just remember when you're doing this, it's like, right? Okay, on twos. 2 frames out, start drawing again. I'm sorry that it's red, but this one is going to be orange, right? So just the same idea with the pixie dust. Don't put any line right over the same position. You can have these little sparks going here. They can be fast, 2 frames out. And make it go in the direction tangential to the way. So that spark right there is gonna last for 2 frames, at least 2 frames right there. So let it be tangential to, so this is the direction here. And that's a nice little trick. So the sparks are coming off here predominantly. So just draw 3 or 4 lines, a bunch of little sparks, a bunch of little pieces that are exploding in the air. Nothing's in the same place. All right, next 2 frames out. Let's go into the same. Don't put the same lines in the same place. Right, got the idea. You can always go back and add more. It's easier to add more than try to erase. 2 frames out. And by now you should just be able to kind of second guess what we're doing here. Little dots, 2 frames out. Two frames out. Just set these in place so that you can go back and add more little sparks later. And this is going to last all the way up to here. So you have to do all of these. 2 frames out. Two frames out. Two frames out. 2 frames out. Two frames out. Two frames out. 2 frames out. Basically what I'm just doing is setting keyframes so I can go back in and tweak it a little bit. 2 frames out. And hold, that's the last one. You can, if you want, add another little bit right there, but let's take a look and see what we've done. All right, it's working, right? So now at this point right here, we want a little delay. So the wisp of smoke is going to start maybe just like, we can have it, let's do what it looks like if we start it right here. All right, so in our color over here, we have the wisp. So let's pick the wisp. We're still in the pencil mode. And the layout is right here. So we just kind of want to trace the layout in our mind's eye. But let's just animate this straight ahead. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually turn the layout off. Or, I could put a note on it so I can just see it, but I'm not going to mimic it. Select all. Use this guy right here, set it apart, 25 pixels. We want the layout to have a transparency on it. The layout is over here. Spacebar, layout, grab it, in and out. It's automatically 50%. Hey. Oh, I used the wrong layout. Hold on a second. There's 2 layouts. It's over here. So let me disconnect this one and disconnect this. Move this over. Oops, sorry. Move this over here. Layout, put it in. I want to do this right. So I'm going to take the lead and put it, stop it, stop. Toon Boom, stop it. All right. All right, the reason why I want to do this is because we're going to do a version of the smoke, but it's just going to be straight ahead. And so just watch. So the wisp is right here. I got the pencil with my wisp color, and just kind of think about this. The little smoke is coming out, and I've just got it set right here. Go out 2 frames and just get this. So I'm already hey, stop it, Toon Boom. There. So now it's red. So I want this to rise. I want this little arc to rise. I want this to rise. You can give it its little volume if you want. So 2 frames out, it's going to rise this way. It's going to rise this way. It's going to come out this way. You can give it its secondary little bit. 2 frames out, it's going to rise. It's going to rise. This is coming up. And so it's animating up, and you're just doing this straight ahead. And you can just do this rough at first, just to make sure you're getting it right. Now I'm going to go to the left and to the right. Oh, hold on, I don't like that. I'm going to go to the right, up and up and up. I'll come back to that one. 2 frames out, left and right and up and left and up. 2 frames out, left and right and left and right and up. And right now we're about at our key. Now I want this part to stop here. In fact, I might want to just go back here and erase this little bit and go backwards and erase this little bit. Now we're going to go back to this one, back to our pencil. Fix this, 2 frames out, and get this to rise, get this to rise, this to come up. 2 frames out. This is dissipating. This is up. 2 frames out. Just start here. 2 frames out. And it's pretty much gone at this point. So let's just take a look at what that looks like in terms of timing. All right, so this is too fast. So I'm going to put this on 3s. I'm going to plus sign, go to the next keyframe, plus, 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 plus. All right, so now the wisp is on 3s. It's still too fast. I'm going to put it on 4s. Plus, next keyframe. All right, now it's on 4s. All right, that looks a little better, but now it's overlapping. So this is a good lesson in just timing for special effects. Now I'm just going to let that go all the way out. I need this stuff right here to be aligned with this. But in terms of our actual animation, what's happening is that we've got the sparks and the fuse, and we've got the wisp. But really what you should have is a good pause between the time when the wisp just goes away and the actual explosion. So let's just get this part working here first. We want this to be lined up. We want this frame right here to be out about right here. I don't care what frame number it is, but I'm just going to put my mouse right here, and I'm going to hit, this is already set on this frame with my selection, and I'm just going to hit F. I'm just going to hit the plus key until it comes out to about right here. Like that's good enough right there. Now take this frame and hit the plus key until those two are lined up like that. Now what else do we have to bring with it? This right here is the underlay. So now we have to bring the underlay all the way out to right to the first flash. This is the background. So go all the way out to the end and just hit F5. All right, save your work. Put this away. Oh, hold on a second. I just zoomed into my timeline really quick, small. All right, let's see what we've got. Play. And then boom. So that's a fairly good timing right here. Let's count our frames right here. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16 frames between the last time we see the wisp and the actual explosion. So it's got good cinematics right there. Let's see what it looks like just as a full play again. All right, so you've got a mix of 2s and 4s and 1s, and this is a pretty good explosion here. In this explosion layer, we're just going to study this again. We've got a 5-point star. We've got a 5-point star getting bigger, and then the 5-point star gets really big and breaks apart. These lines are just straight. If I eyedropper them, just to make sure that they're the right color, I can say there are this EX3 color. Sometimes it makes sense to do a fill color that is just a little different. So I'm going to put EX_3A, and I'm going to grab this color. I'm going to put it underneath the 3X, and I'm going to change it so that it's maybe a little brighter, and I'm going to fill it Oh, I don't know why it's not filling. There. So if it's not filling, you can go to this little puppy right here and say close large gaps. And I don't know why that's not filling. Is it on the right layer? It's on the right layer. There we go. All right, so this isn't going to really quote unquote read correctly until I get a couple of these flashes painted. All right, so you can see I kind of set this up. Let's see what this one looks like. All right, so now the smoke. So let's see what that little flash looks like. All right, so you can see how it's working, right? This is not working. The idea that this bit of smoke right here, it's holding. Like if we look at it just from playing from right here, we can say it's ridiculous that that piece of smoke is holding. So I'm just gonna click right here, hit Shift, and then right click and hit delete. And then let's play it again, just to make sure that it didn't make some huge, horrible mistake. Fuse, wispy, pause, explosion, and white frame, black frame. The last thing that I just wanted to talk about was the shape of these pieces of smoke here. So let's look at them. They are just a solid form. And then it is a solid form for a couple of frames. And then there's a hole in the middle of it. And then the hole gets bigger, and then it gets bigger, and then it breaks apart, and it's like a cartoon. That is your explosion. We did not get the lightning today. All right, so what I would expect, I think that you could certainly get this explosion working. The trick is drawing, aesthetics, timing, and getting this stuff in the timeline working correctly, because the actual production is not that hard. I think that on this particular frame, I need more sparks. On this particular frame, on these frames, I want to go in there and really define these wispy shapes so that they're cool. use your visual references for that. But remember that the key here is this pause right here between the fuse ending and the wisp ending and the actual explosion. There's 16 frames right here of nothing, because that's like, it's not a motion anticipation, it's a theatrical anticipation where there's nothing before the explosion. Your eye is set up for a really great flash. Again, the trick is white, black, white, black, and then removing the background with an underlay so that after you see that last black, now there's a new blast. In this class, there's one more thing I wanted to say, and that is that there's one thing missing, and I want to come back to the classroom. There's one thing missing. What is it?
Maybe the smoke after the explosion.
Well, no, we did that. The smoke is there. If you wanted to make your smoke linger, it would just take you a while to do that. And you could certainly do that. But this smoke dissipates. You know, we did it straight ahead. It dissipates. And I can certainly put well, I don't need to put a version of this because I'm recording this, and you can just go back to YouTube and see it if you want. But unlike our smoke that was cycling for the last couple of weeks, this smoke just goes away. The gunpowder just goes away. But there's one thing that's missing. Actually, there's two things that are missing. The bomb is made of some sort of material, ceramic or metal, and then we didn't get the bomb parts, the shards of the bomb coming towards the camera. So we forgot to do that, or we didn't have time. And I can revisit that next week. But the thing that is truly missing is the bomb parts coming back into the screen after they've gone up in the air and then fallen back down again. Because that sometimes happens with a bomb, you know, dirt or the fragments of the bomb. In the past, I've had you all play around with this a little bit, that instead of a round shape for the bomb, it's a penguin, or it's a bat, you know, or it's a pumpkin, and that the pumpkin explodes, and that it's, instead of pumpkin parts falling back into the screen or pumpkin parts coming at the screen like this, right? Everyone watching? That it becomes like little mini pumpkins. The little mini pumpkins fall down. There's all kinds of strange stylistic things you can do with this explosion. All right, so once again, finish your smoke. Some of you have to reanimate it a little bit. Get this explosion working. This explosion lines up with the discussion area, the outline of our class. You may not need this explosion or the concept of it until your final, when the best thing to do is explode your orb inside the chemistry lab. But this one is easy. The trick is timing. The trick is timing.
So
and
our homework is to fix our smoke and then do an explosion
Yeah, do the explosion. Yeah. and
for
I
a
think-
bomb?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that what this does, it does a couple of things. You should be a master of the sparks, because it's like pixie dust, but you don't have to carry the pixie dust through for 12 drawings or 16 drawings, right? It's just easy. The pixie dust flies up from the fuse and it goes away. It burns. And then that fuse smoke is different too, because it does not cycle. So you do that little wispy thing of smoke. And just remember, when I was timing mine out, I had it on 2s. And then I put it on 4s and it looks better. You might want yours to be on 6s or 8s. And then let it go away. And then pause. Make sure you put that pause between the point where the fuse stops and the actual explosion happening. When you learn this white frame, black frame thing, we will use it for our lightning. And so in just a couple weeks, we'll start putting our volcano together. I think next week we'll actually do the tornado, right? So we're going a little faster now. So yeah, finish your smoke. You have to fix it before you finish it. Some of you have to, and get ready, because that you're going to copy and paste that into your volcano. But then do this explosion. This explosion is a real good sense of animation and timing and shapes and drawing and aesthetics. There's all kinds of strange little things that go into this explosion, right? Especially the idea of copying and pasting that fuse. That's so easy, right? Oh, I understand this, right? And you could even have the top of the fuse be like a little bright red, so it's burning like a cigarette or a doobie. All right. And I can take any questions on Yahoo. You guys have a good week. I will see you next week. Oh, and I will, this is the Kenyatta College. I will set a emergency Zoom meeting for Kenyatta College, for you at Kenyatta College. Sorry, that this has happened 8 times now at the Academy over this whole pandemic, that I've had to panic and send out emergency Zoom meetings. But I'll put the emergency in the classroom, but I'll use the Academies first. And if you don't see me at 10 minutes to the 9, then panic. If you don't see me at 5 minutes to 9 on the Academy, then just switch over to the emergency one. Okay, Luisa, you okay? Are you happy? Okay. Javon, are you there? I think you're on your iPad. And Javon, I don't know if you can hear me, but you still owe me a flag, and now you owe me smoke, Javon. Okay. I put those screenshots in there. Your Zoom recording will be up in an hour or so. It's a beautiful day in the Bay Area. I was told that they were going to have Blue Angels, but I did not see the Blue Angels yesterday or hear them. Those expensive jets that fly around. All right, everyone have a good Friday.
You too.
Now,
Thank
I
you.
will see you all next week.
Take care.
Okay, ciao for now.